Welcome to Refirement Life, the podcast for anyone navigating life transitions or planning to make life transitions to ensure your next years are your best years. Listen in for insightful, generous, and sometimes humorous conversation. It's time to get fired up with Christine Zamuda and Muge Wood, your hosts for this latest episode of Refirement Life.
Welcome. I'm very excited to host our guest today, Damon Lemby. He's the CEO of Learn It. Damon has spent nearly 3 decades helping organizations build strong leaders, more adaptable teams, and cultures where continuous learning drives real business results. And if his experience is anything to brag about, I think it is. Under his leadership, Learn It has helped upskill more than 2 million professionals around the world. Damon's a former Division I baseball player, 3-time best-selling author, and host of the Learn It All podcast. Today, we are going to talk about what it really takes to lead in the age of AI, why curiosity has become a competitive advantage, and how organizations can build teams that are ready for whatever comes next. Please welcome Damon Lemby. Hello, Damon.
It's great to be here. It's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. And for those of you listening, I have my super fantastic co-host, Muge Wood, here as well. So say hello, Muge.
Everyone. Hello. Welcome,
Hi,
Damon.
Muge.
Hi there. Looking forward to our conversation. I think in the intro, there's just so much goodness. Can't wait to dive in. I kind of want to start with baseball, but probably we should talk about the AI piece, right, Christine?
Yeah. I'm sure baseball will come up. It's got to.
All right.
Maybe I'll use some baseball analogies when it comes to AI.
Okay, that sounds great.
We'll do
That sounds great.
Awesome. So, let's get into it. Now, of course, everyone is talking about AI tools. What are the best ones? How do we use them? What things do we automate? But you have said the real challenge isn't the technology, it's the people. And let's just dive right in. What are leaders getting wrong about AI adoption today?
I think what leaders are getting wrong about AI adoption today is they're investing heavily in the tools and they're just throwing them out there. And it's like a vending machine where they're spending all this money and they're expecting to get results without putting in any strategy, any vision, or any investing in their team. And that is really the main thing. And they're getting frustrated, right? Because we're spending all this money. All we're hearing about is, the FOMO you read on Wall Street Journal about how great AI is, and they're not seeing overnight results. And that's causing a lot of chaos throughout their organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think also in the rush to automate, what we see a lot of is just the replication of the same processes without really thinking about how do we make this, situation or experience with our customers, less friction-free, or update what we've done the same old way, forever. But instead, I see a lot of people just automating what already exists in place.
Absolutely. I see that all the time. So they get excited. They say, okay, well, here's how we're doing something, the same process that they've had for 20 plus years, and they want to make it 15 minutes quicker or get something done, whatever, right? What they really need to do, the best leaders that we're seeing aren't afraid to just throw everything up in the air and really redesign what the outcome should look like. So instead of looking at the process, I think you should really start with what is your goal? What is your outcome? What are you trying to achieve? And then work backwards from there with the AI.
Yeah. Starting with the end in mind is always beneficial. So, if you today walked into a company that, like we're seeing today, has invested millions in AI, but employees aren't embracing it. Now, you've had the opportunity to work with millions through your company of folks. What are the first things that you look for, that you'd really look at before buying another piece of technology? So think more about the employee adoption and how can leaders crack the code on that?
The very first thing that I would look at, or the conversations I'd have, is with the senior leadership. where are they at when it comes to AI? Are they skeptical or are they on board? Because at the end of the day, you need your leadership team to model the behavior. You can't be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna throw money at all these tools and we expect you to do it, because there's going to be a lot of failure along the way as well. And so that's important. So the leaders need to roll up their sleeves and lead by example. Even at Learn It, my little company, I mean, we got 50 employees. We just kind of sent out our recent Claude usage. Now, I'm not saying that the best thing to do is track, usage as far as AI adoption, but that's one metrics. And when it came out, I wasn't number one, but I was number 3 on the board of about 50 people. So that just goes to show that I'm out there trying and exploring. And as you mentioned earlier, you have to be curious around it. So one is, what are the leaders doing themselves when it comes to adopting AI? And 2, again, have you really thought through what's the plan? What do we want to accomplish? And even start with some low-hanging fruit. Don't go from A to Z all at once. Just pick out a couple things that you want to automate or change or gain productivity from even. But that's just a starting point when it comes to it.
Yeah,
that is such a great point, Damon. I think that first person experience that could be crucial to have at the leadership level can help us develop an appreciation for what AI can do and what it takes to activate. Because I think we are seeing in this sort of almost experimental phase, there's a lot of overestimation of what it can do, but underestimation of what it takes to activate that. So having the first person experience of, okay, let me use it. If I think it can do that, can it? What would it take to do it? So, and being able to experience and model that, I think is hugely valuable.
Absolutely. And I saw a great 11-minute video by this guy named Jeremy Utley, where he said, you should expect failure almost 50% of the time. What's most important, and here is my first baseball analogy, it's more about getting the at-bats in, getting out there and trying things. Look for different automations or workflows or tasks even that happen over and over again. Maybe some low-hanging, less risky things, and just kind of attack those. Get some low-hanging wins, and then maybe even do hackathons, or just do something where people throughout your organization can kind of share what they're doing, some of the wins they're having, some of the challenges and mistakes they're making, and just learn through it. Because 6 months ago, there was a lot of failure when it came to AI, and really nothing's working. But the nice thing is, I've worked with some of these organizations and us internally, and things are starting to work now. Now, again, you got to have patience, right? But there are a lot of successes happening. So I think it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Damon, you are catching me at a very unique intersection of thoughtfulness, which is not common. But I am going to call out the statement from Confucius that I saw yesterday on my call map that kind of feeds into that, which was, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand. So we got to do with some guardrails, thoughtfulness, and approach. But doing is key in a thoughtful, measured, expected way, and that will be my contribution for the podcast.
I like what you said about forgetting. I think that it's really important to unlearn things. Again, talking about the processes or the way you go about things. How do you unlearn that and be open to ideas of what is possible? Our chief AI officer, Krista Hill, I love when she goes through this exercise where she says, close your eyes, have a cup of coffee, and think about what you would, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you have AI do? And people come back with some pretty good things. Then she says, okay, now open your eyes again. Now think about after you've had 2 beers and think bigger, much bigger. And that is so, it is so true. The potential is really unlimited. So stop thinking that, at surface level, and things can, it's incredible what is possible with AI. So it's all about thinking bigger. It's about trying, getting the reps in. And another thing that's really important, going back to what leaders are making a lot of mistakes with, is you need to meet, I believe, people where they're at in their journey with AI, because it's all over the board. You get people like us who are maybe really excited by it, And you have others who are super anxious. Maybe they, for some reason, it's against their values, or they're afraid it's going to take their jobs. Well, that's one of the human skills that's so important these days. You have to have empathy, and you have to understand that everybody's going to be different. And it's really one of the biggest change management transformations we've ever gone through. And so you have to keep that in mind as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And what are employees like losing in the transition, or what are they afraid of losing in that transition to AI? And how can you help support them so that they are open to learning and open to trying and open to failing and open to succeeding, right?
Well, one of the things that employees think they're losing can be their identity. Let's say that you're an engineer, you've been coding for 25 years, and this is what you're known for. And all of a sudden you have some leader come in, or somebody like me, who's saying you could do it faster, quicker, and better. And if your identity is tied to this specific thing, that is really tough to get over. And what I hope everybody understands is that as the time goes on, those engineers are going to be even more valuable for the organization. And it just comes back to having to look at things differently. And that's where we have to help them understand that even though your job role might be changing, who you are and what you bring to the team is critical and is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So, Damon, I have a question. Thinking along the lines of thinking differently, I think there is a bit of assertion that it is tougher for older people to adopt new technology and so on. That may or may not be true. That's one thing. Let's park that on the side. However, the interesting thing that I see is the younger generation and the potential backlash against AI. It's not only we have seen in the graduation ceremonies and, kind of reacting to it. What is it doing in terms of opportunity creation and also not creating opportunity? But also the other concern that I am hearing from some of the younger people is, I feel like it's taking away my agency to think. It's giving me answers. It is making summaries. It is writing stories. I am concerned that I am going to get down using this tool. So I'm going to kind of go easy on this and step aside. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a valid question. And what I've found is that AI has actually made me more curious. It's made me a better critical thinker. And I've watched those videos too of people booing the speaker off the stage when it comes to AI and everything. But no, I think it's all about how you use it, for one. But it's really helped me with my problem solving and critical thinking. And one of the most important things is it's going to come down to taste. AI can give you unlimited knowledge. I mean, it learns the whole, internet and everything. But what's super important is the human brings in the taste, the point of view. AI might give you 15 different types of options for answers, but you need the human in there to figure out, okay, what is the best one? And the human we're the ones who still have conviction. We have something at stake where AI doesn't. So sure, if you allow it to, just like anything, right? I mean, if you allow it to do all the thinking for you, then you're going to be in trouble. But if you use AI as a thought partner, take podcasting for a second. Every time I do an interview or I interview somebody, I immediately throw my interview into Claude or something, and I have it really pressure test me on what I did well and what I could get better at. And even when I'm preparing for an interview, I have it question me, quiz me on things. So it forces me to think sometimes differently, or really go past like a surface level on thinking things. So it's up to how you use it and how you can get creative with it, I believe, at least.
Yeah.
Such a great perspective, Damon. I think approach properly can be so empowering and take away the fear factor. The way I use it is two ways. One, it helps me improve my sentence structure and my communication flow as a non-English speaking person. It gives me even more confidence to say what I want to say is flowing even better than before. So I feel like I am just, really awesome. And then the second piece is it helps me visualize my my ideas quicker with more impact. Let's say I'm putting together a business plan and I say, these are the blocks that I think will generate growth. Put it on a slide with some estimated projections. And then my job then is to critique that, act on that, and operationalize that. It is not the time I spend to put the boxes and arrows on the slide. A very rudimentary example. So it can be super empowering, but the thoughtfulness is the point you are making, is the key ingredient.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I look at it this way too sometimes. It's kind of a funny story. Maybe I have an argument with my wife, right? Or maybe we disagree on something. I can go back to Claude or ChatGPT and say, give me 3 reasons why she's right and I'm wrong. And again, it helps you think differently.
And then doesn't it just come back, happy wife, happy life?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, you want to get along, and she's right. But that's what I think is good about it. I mean, sure, it could help you draft an email, it can help you fix your grammar, all that kind of stuff. But if you just use AI as a productivity tool, I think you're really selling yourself short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think after like a solid 2 years of using it very steadily, it's wild how much it has my profile, my desires, my my strengths, my weaknesses. Yeah, I think it's interesting to use it both in professional life and personal life.
One of my favorite recent stories is I'm not a big camper at all. I mean, anybody who knows me knows I'm not a big camper. But we had a 2nd grade camping trip coming up, and I went on ChatGPT and I just said, I'm going on this camping trip. This is where we're going. I want to be comfortable, safe, and find me some equipment that falls in line that's easy to set up. Mm-hmm. And for relatively inexpensive, it lined up every item I needed to buy. I bought it, and everybody was super impressed. They're like, you must have spent a lot of time and really figure this out. I told them my secret, but I mean, you just go back and forth. It can help you in your professional life. I mean, in your personal life, set up travel arrangements.
Yes.
All kinds of different things that would take a lot of extra time and maybe even. And while you do that, for you leaders out there who aren't using AI that much, it helps you hone your skills and get more comfortable with it. So if you have somebody on your team, tying us back to work, and they're resistant and they haven't started using it, give them examples like this. Hey, why don't you try planning a trip with it? Why don't you plan writing a poem for your daughter, and just get them a little bit more comfortable and less resistant. And after that, I think that will help them really open up to the idea of using it.
Yeah. So with all the things that we've touched on about, interpretation and, people going at different pace or different paces, what kind of things do you share with leaders to ensure that they're really embracing a learn it all culture in a practical way? If you were going to give someone 3, and you just added a little tip of, hey, using it in a personal setting, but in a business environment, what kind of tips do you think are most important for leaders who are embracing that change management?
I think one tip that is really important is, what would you rather have, AI adoption or better work? What would you pick out of the 2?
Better work.
Better work. Exactly. Yeah. Right. So that means slowing down, thinking things through, experimenting, and figure out how you can create this better work, and be curious. And sometimes for leaders, that comes back to rethinking people's performance, and what the expectations are of them. And so I think that's a good one right there. Also, whether it's creating a learn it all culture or however you want to refer to it, it's just about, we talked about this a little bit, but it's really important, being okay with failure. And a lot of people talk about, failure with AI. The bottom line is, if you haven't created trust within your organization, it doesn't matter if it's AI, it doesn't matter about what it is. If people don't trust you, if they don't trust you as a leadership team, then you're not going to get buy-in. So you have to create that psychological safe space. You got to give people direction and agency to try things. And that's just really the way to go if you want this adoption to happen, or if you want people to collaborate in a new way together.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So if we're looking at opportunities, and we mentioned before that some organizations are just replicating their existing processes using AI in certain places. Is there any maybe inspiration through a story that you can share with our audience about a client that you had that really looked at the business from the ground up and changed some things, just to encourage leaders to really take this a little bit more thoughtfully?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot. I'd say one thing is we have a client who had SOPs, job descriptions all over the board, and they installed Claude Cowork. And as an organization, they created this great internal knowledge base. And so what used to take 15 to 20 minutes to just find anything now is at everybody's fingertips. And so that's been a huge win for them. Another one is different sales organizations we've worked with where they've really been able to, from a customer experience perspective, create workflows and agents that are able to look at, this is a little bit more advanced, but they're able to look at clients and where they are in their renewal and see if there's any red flags within what's been transpiring that maybe they can be proactive on. Say, for instance, they're not utilizing their service enough, or maybe that people aren't showing up as much as they used to. So different things like that, which has really helped them in their whole engagement with AI.
Very cool. Very cool. We've had an interesting experience too, using AI tools and helping clients look at sales data and predict which deals are actually going to close. And the way we've structured this, we've taken everything that the sales rep has said about the deal out and just looked at recorded conversations, emails with the client, and we're able to draw some not only sales coaching, but also some predictability over which deals are going to close. And just think about that. In some ways, it's a wonderful win for the sales rep who never wanted to put their data in AI, or data in CRM, I should say, right? All that tedious administrative stuff that goes away. And then, the conversation really looks at sentiment, looks at where the stakeholders are happening, or how engaged they are, et cetera, to really make a prediction. So there's so much you can do now with these tools.
That is an amazing example. And are you using Claude?
Yes.
Yeah. And so for the listeners out there, what Christine's saying is you don't need to even go into Salesforce anymore, or QuickBooks, or whatever you're using. I mean, we use Salesforce, QuickBooks, and we use Fathom. I sit out on my back deck in the morning and I just speak into Claude. And by the way, another pro tip, please learn to get comfortable with voice. Voice really helps you get your thoughts out. It helps the AI get to know you better, and you just get to articulate what you're trying to. I can't even say it now that I'm saying it. It helps you articulate what you're trying to get done. And so you could do all of this through Claude. So you could pull up Salesforce and you could match it up with your Fathom calls. And exactly like you're saying, the sales rep might tell you it's in the design phase where really it's not. And this is stuff that's right at your fingertips. If you set up those MCP connectors, I'm far from technical myself, but once you get started on it, I mean, they say that AI is supposed to reduce the amount of work you do. I actually find myself doing more work, but just a lot more fun work on exactly the stuff that you're talking about. Sentiment, where you're at with your client's journey, all that kind of stuff. That's a great example.
Yeah. It's exciting times for sure. So here's a good question. Has AI changed what you believe makes someone a high performer? And maybe the second part of that question would be, which uniquely human skills are actually becoming more valuable because of AI?
So I would say, to answer your first part of your question, I think you take the high performers and AI will amplify them and make them better performers. I think you take your medium to low performers, it's going to really, put a spotlight on them too. I think it's really going to do both, amplify the great ones and really, point out the ones who are struggling. I already mentioned for the second part, I mentioned taste as one of the human skills that's important. It's, which is basically having your point of view and judgment. Empathy, which I also mentioned, is critical in these days and age. And, just emotional intelligence in general. And then you have learning agility. I think we need learning agility to learn, unlearn what we're doing. So there's taste, there's judgment. Think about output verification. When you can't just send AI slop out there, you need the critical thinking skills to look through what you've written before you put it out there. So all of those are human skills are important. Another one is accountability. Mm-hmm. Look, if you're using AI and you send out a legal document or I don't know, you send something out to your client, you have to take responsibility for that. You can't blame the AI. So you have to have that accountability that goes with it. That is, end of the day, super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the accountability piece is really important and interesting, Damon, because I think now we have the capability is to agentify business processes to the point where it can all be agent driven. We have the capability to do that. But one, do you want to do it? And two, let's say you were to do it, where does the accountability lie? You can't say AI did it. Having said that, I did read an article that says people at work may be reviewing the products or output of content created by AI a whole lot less because they feel less accountable. So if there's an error or the product maybe is not quite in line with the direction, they feel like it was AI, it wasn't me. So I think this culture of accountability in the age of AI is definitely worth defining and revisiting.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, I tell our clients, I think about it to myself and to our team. Anything that you publish using AI, you're responsible for. It's under your name. Don't put it out there, and you can't just blame the AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that, we have a few minutes remaining in our time together. It has gone fast because this is such a deep, exciting, and mysterious topic still, almost to a certain extent. Christine, how would we like to finish? Any final remarks or questions we want to wrap up with Damon and his experiences?
How about one more question? Because we've spent a lot of time of sort of wallowing in the now and what people are experiencing. I'd love to get your perspective, Damon, on, 5 years from now, what do you think will separate organizations that merely adopted AI from those who truly transformed because of it?
What I think is going to separate the organizations who just adopted AI to the ones who truly transformed it, Christine, are the organizations who really put their people first. Because at the end of the day, even with all this technology and everything, people are the engine that drive the organization. And you have to have great talent and a culture in your organization. So whatever people want to say around AI, you need the people to drive that engine for your organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that I firmly believe as well. That's why we get along so well, Damon.
That's right.
We could finish each other's sentences on some of these things. I love what you said about accountability too. And that's something that's given me something to think about. We really haven't put that forward as much as I think we should. We talk a lot about creativity. We talk a lot about agility and empathy, compassionate leadership. But, accountability, I think, is going to be even more important. I think also with the younger generation coming up, I think that's going to be a killer skill to both model, reinforce, just like you would in a growth mindset culture.
I think it's so important. I mean, that's just one thing, and that has nothing to do with AI. Mm-hmm. I have 2 little kids, 8 and 4, And I just want to model that behavior myself and take ownership of something if it doesn't go right, not blaming others or playing the victim mentality. And I think it's really important for all generations, but especially the ones coming up.
Right, right. Wow. Well, what a wonderful time we've had with you, Damon. So for listeners who would like to get in touch with Damon, you can go to learnit.com and also plug into Damon's podcast, the Learn It All podcast. Thanks so much for spending time with us, Damon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Damon, for making us think and also inspiring us.
Well, thank you for asking so many good questions.
And I like that Confucius quote. Yeah. Good job, Bugay.
I'm looking for a playback, so I'll come back to you both in a couple of hours.
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll sign off. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you for listening. Our hope is to spark a little joy, inspire, and educate our listeners in ways to live an even more meaningful life. If you have reactions to share from what you've heard, please visit our website, Refirement.Life, to leave a voice message. You may even be featured in a future episode. To keep in touch, subscribe to our podcast, Refirement Life, using the podcast player of your choice. Always remember, you are never too old to set a new goal or to dream a new dream. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. Until next time.